We're going to go ahead and get started with our next panel, the Going Global, as part of our Global Symposium on Racing. And our moderator, Michele Fischer, welcome. I'm going to let you take it away.
I am pleased to moderate this global panel today where we're going to highlight racing from jurisdictions that we don't always hear from but have very rich histories in the sport. On the panel, I have Sarah Tregoning from the Jockey Club of Saudi Arabia, Hernán Fucile from Palermo, in Argentina, and Beltrán Montt from Hipódromo, Chile, in Chile. And I had a late scratch, but he's not scratched, Solomon Sharpe from Camanas Park. He missed his flight, and he's going to come to us from Zoom. So let's kick the panel off with some videos. I've asked each of our panelists to put together two minutes to give us a little bit of flavor of racing in their jurisdiction, and then we'll go from there. And we will get to some videos. Wow, I feel like we've just taken a very fast trip around the world. Those videos just remind us how horse racing is beloved in so many nations, and we can see how it's celebrated. Thank you for putting that together. As we talk about the different jurisdictions, you all will see on the screen just various photos from the tracks that are represented here up on the stage. I'm going to start with you, Sarah. The inception of the $20 million Saudi Cup race, which is the world's richest horse race, has put Saudi Arabia in a very short amount of time on the international horse racing map. But the Jockey Club of Saudi Arabia has held races since 1965. Can you tell us a little bit about how racing is set up in Saudi Arabia and a little bit about the history?
Yeah, sure. Racing was, the first races under rules were 1965, but I think a lot of people don't realize quite how ingrained racing is in the culture in Saudi Arabia. We have documentation back at the club that goes back to the 20s when, in what is now the center of Riyadh, there was races that were staged by the royal family at the time in a place called Malaz, where they actually had camel racing and horse racing. And it was a beloved sport even back then. And we still have a clubhouse in Malaz, although we don't race there anymore. We have 2 race courses that are under our jurisdiction, King Khalid in Taif and King Abdulaziz in Riyadh, where we host the Saudi Cup, obviously. That was built in 2002, and it's got the dirt track, which it's always had, and now it has a turf, which we put in for the Saudi Cup in 2019. So, racing is a very big part of the culture. The horse, the purebred Arabian horse, which we race in Saudi as well as the thoroughbred, is very, very significant in a lot of the arts and the historical documentation and the poetry, the songs, and the culture. It's ingrained, the legacy of the horse, and that's kind of what we're tasked to do, is not lose sight of that culture while we translate racing for the modern Saudi.
So Saudi Cup Day this year, or next year, is February 22nd. On that day, we're going to see 9 races with a total purses of $34 million. How did the Saudi Cup and that day of racing come into existence just a few years ago? Yeah,
so the Saudi Cup, its purpose, it serves a lot of purposes for us in Saudi Arabia. So one would be the mission that we all had was that we needed to create an event that would have a positive impact on the culture, on the sporting culture within Saudi Arabia, on the economics of the kind of sporting events, and in the community. So it was understood that we can use this as a vehicle to promote positive things within Saudi community. Obviously, Saudi Arabia is on a journey of opening up to more events and more things that people can attend, and that was part of our mission to create an event that would capture the imagination of the young Saudis. It's a very big population, it's a very young population within Saudi Arabia, and we really want to appeal to that demographic and help people to understand that they can choose to work in racing if they want to. They could choose to be a jockey if they want to, or they could choose to become involved in the sport if they want to. And then from an international perspective, it was to use the race as something to raise awareness of what's happening within Saudi, or the positive change, and to promote our racing and the events that we can put on within Saudi to a global audience.
I've been going to Saudi Arabia for about 6 years, and in that time, I've seen changes that would take decades in other countries. And it's amazing how the culture is so welcoming. Every time I go back, something new has been built and opened up. This year, I went to a soccer game, and Ronaldo was playing, but it was women could go. Women started going in January, and I went in February, and every time something else. And I think with the culture, with the population being so much of it being under the age of 35, you see a lot of change coming. And with that change, you know, what are the future plans for the club to grow? You know, we've got this great race, but there's race day. Are you going to stop there? What's the plan?
Yeah, so, I mean, Saudi Arabia has, there's so much potential within the country. As you say, I think changes happen quite quickly once, you know, we recently redid our race day stables, and they've been in for a year, and we have all those boxes, and there's a lot of plans to, you know, continue to work on the infrastructure of horse racing within Saudi Arabia. I said earlier we have 2 race courses that are currently under our jurisdiction, but we're going to expand and bring more race courses into the kind of Jockey Club of Saudi Arabia fold. I think I'm often, when I speak to people, people are surprised that we have so much breeding in Saudi Arabia. There's a lot of local bred horses that are KSA suffix. It's about, I think, 1,300 foals born in the last year in Saudi Arabia, thoroughbred foals, and we race them. We have races for local breds, so it would be the development of that operation would be quite important to us. So there's an awful lot of progress that we want to make. We're part 2 country right now, when before the Saudi Cup we were part 3, and we made that transition quite well, but we're working towards the part 1 achievement, and that's a very big goal for us, obviously, and also to continue to have race upgrades, because we have the domestic season is big. I mean, we have 710 races in the Riyadh season, and we're getting the upgrades that we're looking for, and it's to maintain the standards, continue with the upgrades, continue with the Saudi Cup Day upgrades, and continue to talk on an international stage about what we're doing there.
It's extremely exciting. I'm just, every time I come back from Saudi Arabia, I feel so inspired with horse racing. So we're going to move on to Jamaica. Is Solomon still with us on Zoom? To see if he is. There he is. Solomon, as we said, had missed his flight, but he still wanted to be with us. And this is a story of Kamanis Park, which opened in 1959, and it's Jamaica's only racetrack, and it has quite a history. It was a sugarcane plantation. There was even a song in the late 1960s, a reggae song that was called Long Shot Kick the Bucket. I do not have it here for us to hear, but the pioneers had done that. The track was the location of a local gangster shootout with the police. So a lot going on there, but it has a colorful history. It's ingrained in its local culture, and it had long-time government support. But most recently, the lottery company Supreme Ventures has been leasing the track and took over the management in 2017. So Solomon and his team have set out to revive racing on the island and showcase it outside of their borders. So Solomon, I'm sorry you couldn't be with us, but could you share with us some of your primary initiatives to drive local engagement as well as to gain some international exposure?
Hi everybody, thank you for having me, Michele. So, racing is a very rich history in Jamaica. It's over 100 years old. The English used to occupy Jamaica, and back in that time, they used to breed horses in Jamaica and ship to England to run there. Over a period of time, I guess the scale of everything changed. And then we had 2 grass tracks before. One was at Marley and one was in New Kingston, where there's a bunch of hotels and business district right now. In 1959, we made a shift over to the Canelands, set up this 9-furlong oval with 2 chutes. So we have a 5-furlong straight chute and a 9-furlong chute. So we have a pretty interesting racetrack. Unfortunately, they didn't build a turf, which is one of my directives to get in. So I'm a third-generation horseman, and I was just committed to keeping, the sport alive in honor of my late grandfather and my uncle who's a former champion trainer, and my dad. Each breeds horse racing. So, given the whole family history, I had to, put in an extra special effort. Because things were that they were going to give us all the help. And one of the things that they did for us was focus on Fox. And our race day was actually scheduled to do the same day as the cigar mile. We prepared for the cigar mile, and since last year when we got on, we took good care of Andy Sterling, and anybody who knows Andy Sterling knows that he's a very deserving individual, and he can tell you, but he's very clean to make up. So we hosted Andy Sterling and the team last year. They brought over Eddie Mirage. This year, it was a big easier for us because Andy Sterling came after the Acacia come on came first with the production guys, Bobby and Ellen, and we put together some interesting features and we showed them what the game was all about. So, you know, in the last 2 years, we've created quite a bit of our muscles on the narrow circuit, and we're bringing racing global and connecting it a lot more. So I think once we keep staying on that trajectory, and it's always drop a million or two, you know, we're going to have that total parts, that inclusive part, like what they're doing in Saudi Arabia.
Excellent. Stay with us, Solomon. I'm going to have a few more questions for you. Now we're going to move on down to South America, take that long plane ride to Buenos Aires. How long did it take you to get here, Hernán? How long did it take you to get to Arizona?
24 hours. Yeah, a complete day, but I'm very happy to be here.
Well, we're on the same diagonal, and it's only a few-hour time difference. It is a long way down there. Argentina is a country known for its horsemanship, and top quality horses come from Argentina and compete all over the world. Hipódromo Argentino de Palermo dates back to 1876, and currently you host 21 Group 1 races. You're right in the heart of Buenos Aires, in the Palermo area. The city continues to expand around the racetrack, and your facility had to adapt to multiple uses just to stay current. You've got, I always call it the underground casino, but it's really a legitimate casino that is in the basement of the facility. We saw some of that in the video. And when you walk into Palermo and you see the beautiful stone building, you'd have no idea that 24 hours a day underneath is 5,000 slot machines and a sports book. Once you go down there, you may never come up. But could you tell us a little bit about your facility, your racing, and how you're striking a balance between entertainment, alternative gaming, and horse racing?
Well, first of all, we are a casino that from 1997 is privately managed, and like many other racetracks in the region is used to struggle with deficit activity. So we have to convert and bring the kind of Racino model that is placed here in the United States. And in the year 2000, we started with 70 slots, and now we had more than 5,000 slots.
That's a huge jump, 70 to 5,000. That is a big jump.
Yes, absolutely. And well, with that, with the casino, we pay 70% of the purses, and that gives us the possibility to have 1,600 races all year, 120 race days, and more than 1,000 horses in our stables.
Wow.
Yes, it's a big work. And at the same time, we understood that a racetrack like ours, located in the city of Buenos Aires, needed to be accessible to the public all year round. Therefore, we implemented an open-door strategy, offering concerts, restaurants, breweries, food fairs, and major events, which has turned Palermo into a year-round entertaining hub in the heart of the city. Yeah, very important.
Well, my last trip to Palermo, one thing was so interesting. Right across the street from the racetrack is a polo stadium. And it's really the only polo stadium, I don't know if it's the only one in the world, but it's the only one I've ever been in. And so that cross between the two different types of horses is really interesting, because we saw a lot of the polo players coming over for your big race, the Nacional, and those were the best, it was the best tournament in the world that just that finished up there. So it really, right in that heart of the city, it just celebrated horses, especially on that weekend, where some of the best polo
Yes.
ponies and the best race horses were just walking across the street.
Yes, it's very special. It's like the heart of the city, and it's, as you told, we have the polo, and normally in the same day that we run the Gran Premio Nacional, that is in November, we have the final of the polo there, and it's a great event for everybody. And it gives the opportunity for the people to see horses that normally maybe they don't go to the racetrack, but they know that the racetrack is there. So it's a very big opportunity to have new people over the racetrack.
That's great. It's beautiful. If anyone has not been there, please plan a trip, see Hernán. Now we're going to go to Chile. Beltrán, we're going to talk a little bit about Hipódromo, Chile, and it's another very old racetrack founded in 1906, and it's one of 4 racetracks in Chile. Averages 13 runners in a field. And many days you run 19 to 21 races, and I have been there on those days. I sometimes wondering if I was ever going to go home. But, and you're filling those races. And let's talk a little bit about the highlights of your racing program. You have so many horses, so many full fields. How do you do it?
Okay, Michele, first I want to congratulate the University of Arizona for organizing this tremendous symposium. And thank you guys for having me here. I would like to give you some information about our industry for a better understanding how it works. In Chile, we don't have any subsidy from the government, so we depend on our own revenues. As you say, Michele, there are 2 racetracks in Santiago. One is Club Hípico Santiago, and the other one is Hipódromo, Chile, and there are 30,300 horses in Santiago, and this amount of horses allowed us to have 21 races per race days, with an average of 13 horses per race. And part of our race program, a very important part, are the breeders. The breeders have imported very good stallions from the US or have leased stallions from the US, like Constitution, Looking Unlucky, and recently Tease the Law, the winner of the Belmont Stakes and second in the Kentucky Derby. And this is part of the horses that they have produced, of course, that improve the spectacle that we are showing every Saturday, almost Thursday of the year. And in Chile, in our program, we have something that is unique in Chile, the handicap races. The handicap races, we calculated the handicap according to the performances of the races. It's automatical system. The higher the handicap, the better the horse is. So we divide that in a series, the amount of horses that are in a handicap race, and for example, handicap from handicap 40 to 30, we put more weight. It's 2 pounds for each point. So this is a very interesting system because it allows, supposedly, the same chance to all the horses to win the race. And we combined that handicap races with the races that you have in the US, like the 2 years old for filly maiden, maiden 2 years for filly, maiden 2 years old for colts, maiden for 3 years colts, and maiden for 3 years fillies. So we make a combination of these, and we also have 2 stakes. So we always try to improve, as I said before, our spectacle every day. And I want to say that what is very important for us is the integrity and the transparency of the spectacle that we have of all the races. And we are the only racetrack in Chile and the first one in South America to have the ISO 9001-2015, which has a very strict protocol of how we have to take the sample from the detention bar. And those samples are sent to the US, to the laboratory, industrial laboratory of Denver, Colorado, and for the main stake, let's say grade 1 stakes, we send those samples to Australia, to one of the laboratories recognized by the International Federation of Horse Racing Authority. So I think that all the things that we put, we try to be very transparent for everybody, and I think that's why we are executing our races overseas through authorized wagering operators. So it's not our spectacle is not only shown in Chile. We're shown our spectacle overseas, like at the U.S., like Australia, United Kingdom, Europe. So that's the way that we form our program.
Another question for you, Beltrán. I visited a few years ago when you were building the new double-decker barn. And one of the challenges I know you had being in the heart of that neighborhood that's very busy, you had horses that were kind of like Saratoga or Newmarket coming across a lot of traffic, though, not like those towns, which is a little bit of traffic, coming across people in traffic, and you had to do something about that. And you're the only double-decker barn in that area. So tell us a little bit about how that came about.
We have 235 horses that have to cross the street. Because, well, the racetrack is not too big, and we showed that, you saw it, a barn of 3 floors.
3 floors, okay.
So, and also we have a barn of 2 floors. But in the middle rank, we hope to bring all those horses inside the racetrack. So they don't have to cross the street or put their horses at a risk,
Did you just get a train station to your track as well? A stop did you just get a stop on the train station as well?
Change what?
The train, does it stop now at?
Oh yeah, very close to the racetrack, yes.
So that's a new development.
Yeah, that helps a lot because many people can just go by train, by metro to the track.
So we'd spoken when we heard you, Hernán, talk a little bit about all the different forms of entertainment at the track, and we could see in the photographs that have gone on in the background that there's a lot more than racing that goes on in every facility. I'm going to start with you, Solomon. I see you're still with us there. Your background is entertainment. I will call you Mr. Entertainment. You have brought that to your track, and how are you blending music and entertainment and racing together in Jamaica?
So it's time to close our speaker system there, and we play hot tunes throughout the day. And then we're putting in infield tent and have a really big party. This year's theme was Western wear, and that was a big hit. But normally, the entertainment, the theme dressing would just be confined to the infield, and even this time a lot of them pubs and the stands are full. But they wouldn't necessarily wear what the theme is. This year, we got the whole of Jamaica wearing content western wear in the stands and in the infield. All the cowboy shoes are sold out, all cowboy hats are sold out, and it was a really big party. So all of the feedback from what happened on the infield was caught on the stands, and it wasn't exclusive anymore. So it was one big party. We're working on listening keenly, especially what's going on in Argentina, because we want to have difficult to run a racetrack and look after 200 acres on just horse racing wagering. And just like Chile, we don't get any government subsidies for purses, etc. So, we're having to do the job, and we're being creative in finding other ways. Since we have done something now, we realized that our ATW or ITW method has improved. So, we got to hire like a $40 million last week Saturday. For it to be economically viable and feasible, we want to get to, $500,000 per day, and then we eventually want to get to $1 million per day. Like, on average, we only do $400,000 per day, So guys, I'm from Saudi, I hope you're listening, why we do that.
I heard reggae cowboy. That's kind of where I turned off Solomon, but go on.
Yeah, so, we had a really great time, and we've been incorporating new things. We're going to do more with entertainment going forward, because we spent a lot of time to fix the core product, and we have a gaming business, so we need the gaming revenues to be able to pay for the show. But a good friend of mine, and an old colleague named, I think her first name is Michele, said to me, I like what you're doing, and I think you need to actually be your side of the business a little bit, So I got more horse racing than I got entertainment. So we listened to her, and we had a great later this year, and it was more inclusive, and the fans have been really enjoying what we're doing, and especially last weekend, it was the biggest show I've ever seen a game on a spark, and the product continues to grow there. It is really connected in full pattern, and we're going to work with the breeders now to get them their full crop stock up to 500 heads, which is critical for racing.
Sarah, tell us a little bit about what you do at King Abdulaziz as far as entertainment on the night of Saudi Cup beyond the racing.
Yeah, so with our event, it's closely associated with the Ministry of Culture. And, it ties in very, very well the whole, the legacy of the horse and how important it is within the culture. But also we want ways to inspire people to come racing, to enjoy the time that they have with us and to leave and hopefully come back during our seasonal races. So a lot of what we have on Saudi Cup weekend is a Friday and a Saturday event, is a cultural village, and fashion is a huge element of that, and a lot of people, I find, are very surprised that there's such a variety in the fashion trends in the different parts of Saudi Arabia, and you find the most, on the video there are a couple of the outfits there, but the most beautiful ornate outfits that certainly the ladies wear. And obviously we have international visitors on that day, so that is part of our push, is to say, yeah, come racing, enjoy racing, because in Saudi Arabia probably racing wouldn't have been traditionally a big spectator sport, and we probably have the same challenges as every other race course. How do you get people through the gates? So one of the ways is to talk about the fashion, the culture. We have like a bit of the history of what racing is and why we're there, and people can just walk around the cultural village.
I think
on Saudi Cup Day.
I remember a DJ there too.
Yeah, a bit of music, bit of dancing. Yeah, and
that was new too. When I first started going to Saudi, there weren't concerts, and here we are at the races with the DJ and people dancing.
Events have become a really big part of the community now. I mean, in Riyadh, they have Riyadh Season, which isn't racing, although people do get confused about that, but that's an event that people can go to with shopping and everything. The weather's really good now for that kind of thing. There's Middle Beast, which is a music event, a lot of DJs and things. There's boxing, there's golf. So people going to events with the family and having fun is a big part of what people do in Saudi now, and we want a piece of that as well.
Beltrán, what about you? What else do you do at the racetrack, other forms of entertainment, concerts?
For the future?
Or in the infield, what else do you do?
For the infield?
Yeah, what do you do that's outside of horse racing in your facility?
Well, the facility that we have, well, we have a grandstand, or we are trying to build new restaurant. We have invested a lot of money in that because we want to bring more people to the races, because most of our betting are outside of the track. But I think that is important for the new generations to bring them to the track. I mean, so that's a very important issue that we're working on.
Hernán, I'm going to change gears here with another question for you, and this will be a question for all the panelists. As we're sitting here, you're all commercial managers, you're running the track, you're director of racing, and Solomon, you're everything, but it's just a joke. But what do you find to be your biggest challenge in your jurisdiction to promote racing, to make it popular, to keep it running? What's your biggest challenge?
Well, first of all, I think that as every racetrack in the region, we have to move from physical to digital. Right now, we think that people don't want to move or go to a racetrack or go to an OTB. So our challenge is to become digital, to give the customer opportunities and tools to bet outside the racetrack that gives them promotions and gives them more races from all over the world, not only races from Argentina. And I think that that is the way, and that is the way that the racetrack is going to be affordable in the next years, and to approach new audiences. New people to see horses running, things that they normally don't do because they have other sports that they like more. But I think that with that kind of changes, we are going to approach them and make horse racing affordable and on the time.
Solomon, what's your biggest challenge in Jamaica?
So, I think of this population here, we only have 3 million people, but we have a big appetite for racing. Our diaspora is about 5 or 6 times the size. So, my biggest challenge right now is how to get the export distribution up to $1 million a day. And I think once we get there, we'll be okay in Jamaica to help us to pay all our bills. Other than that, the racing population went down, but we quickly fixed that, and we started a program where we went out and imported some horses. And this year, the numbers was at 75. Last year was at 65, and the year before was at 55. So it's continuing to grow. So, and then I mean the only other thing the population price for purses, but again, when you're trying to pay everything out of one pot, it becomes increasingly difficult. So we're working to be more productive, to get, I think we've done a lot, recaptured a lot of the audience. We do have an AEW software, online, we have a strong online presence. We brought in fixed odds a couple of years ago. So everything is in a growth mode, but it can't grow fast enough, and it can only grow so much. I don't know about 3 million population. So you have to grow from outside. So this is where we put in our market event, and it was won last year by an imported horse. We eventually stayed.
We're in a
this year, the 2 big importees from Beltrán Park or there was a local horse who was actually important. So when you look at the global landscape and you see the movements of horses and importations, it's critical in bringing the whole worldwide stage focus on Jamaica. And kudos to Saudi Arabia, I'd love to go over there and learn about how they do it. But we're kind of taking on that template and bringing that whole inclusiveness, the entertainment values, the racing values, familiar with the guys on there. Just call and ask them how much of a great time they had. They wouldn't go home. We had a party in the infield tent, and we had an after party, and it was just an awesome time for everybody.
Thanks, Solomon. I should have told you it's a lightning round here. Beltrán, very quickly, what's your biggest challenge?
Well, our big challenge is to combat about the illegal betting that we are having currently. And we presented a bill to Congress. If they are going to approve the online betting platforms, we want to be in, because I think that that's the future that we are going to allow people that are not going to the racetrack never, because they are not involved in the industry, they will not be able to try to understand a race program, they just like to bet. Okay. And I think with those kind of people, we could, if they bet on our races, we could increase the purses, because we really need to increase the purses, because it's very good for the industry, for the owners, for the breeders, because we can offer more horses, good for the breeders, because they will have the chance to import more stallions, good stallion from the U.S. or Chile's stallion from here too. That's the main challenge that we have.
Sarah, you're going to have to wrap this up with, what is your biggest challenge in Saudi Arabia?
Our biggest challenge is probably shared with most other racing jurisdictions. It's, alignment on things like whip rules. We have a lot of international jockeys coming over, and that can be confusing. And keeping racing relevant to a changing demographic and population, really.
So I think we've really, on that challenge, we are very aligned. I mean, what we've heard here is Solomon needs more wagering in order to fuel purses. You're looking in Argentina to do more outside with ADWs within Chile. You're looking at sports betting, taking some of that sports betting bettors and bringing them over as that becomes more prevalent in Chile. And you're trying to align with the rest of the world as you're growing. So we're very different places, as we could see from the videos and the conversations, but it seems as if horse racing universally shares a lot of the same challenges, and just goes to show how we all need to work together to bring the sport up globally. Robert, do we have time for questions, or are we?
Questions, they could just come up and ask.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you for
Thank
staying
you.
with us through this.
Thank you very much.
For coming such long ways. We really appreciate that. If anybody has questions for our panelists, you can come up and ask them individually. We don't have time for a formal Q&A. So the luncheon is happening in 10 minutes down in the Kiva Ballroom. It's a 3 to 5 minute walk through the parking lot. You go to the lobby.